They arrived without the Indiana Fever faithful's Caitlin Clark, based only on the CC effect. Fever Wings, the most viewed game on the network, reached a peak of 1.5 million viewers despite the absence. She is the WNBA's equivalent of Michael Jordan. When she's not working, she's been incredibly productive there. It's going to be a huge event when she arrives. This league has never had a bigger appeal than she does, in ways never seen before. She has elevated this league to a national level. She is a revolution, not simply a rookie. Despite Caitlin Clark's Dozen T play, millions of people still watch. The supporters of Caitlin Clark arrived. Sales of tickets, merchandising, TV ratings, and interest in the WNBA have all increased dramatically since joining. The Indiana Fever recently set yet another record for viewers, and this time it's all because of her. Caitlin Clark's groin injury prevented us from experiencing that moment. 1.14 million viewers on average. Caitlin Clark demonstrates that she is the league's face by going from the sidelines to the spotlight. She represents the league. She was able to play as a captain. She is transforming the Fever into the American squad. Leave a 100% in the comments. If you think Caitlin is the reason the WNBA is doing so well at the moment, some people harbor resentment for Caitlin Clark because of the affection that everyone else shows her. She is actually the greatest thing. This league has never experienced that. Watching Caitlin Clark on TV is a must. Even without Caitlin Clark, playing the stats were out of control. One of the season's most anticipated events was going to be her highly anticipated rematch with Paige Buehrs. But Caitlin was forced to miss it because of a persistent groin ailment. Regretfully, because of Caitlin Clark's lost the moment because of the groin injury. Due to a persistent and bothersome groin issue, Caitlin Clark was unable to play. Nevertheless, the game continued to draw an average of 1.14 million viewers on ION, with a peak of 1.5 million. That's historic, not just excellent. The Fever Wings WNBA regular season game had an average of 1.14 million viewers on ION last Friday. Only 6 game windows from the previous season are behind the network's most watched game of the season, which all included Caitlin Clark. Throughout the entire event, it was ION's most watched broadcast season and that network's 7th highest watched WNBA game ever. Take a moment to process that. Even without Caitlin on the floor, a sizable crowd turned up. Why? Because basketball wasn't the only reason people were watching. They were paying attention to Caitlin Clark. The Indiana Fever appear on ION for the first time without Caitlin Clark. 851,000 views. The game's peak score was 1.5. The supporters of Caitlin Clark arrived, even when she is on the bench. Her presence is enough to hold the attention of first-time watchers, families, and supporters. It improves. Caitlin Clark appeared in all 6 of N's most watched games from the previous season. Her games against the Phoenix Mercury and Chicago Sky drew 1.66 million and 1, respectively. Viewers were 34 million and 1.26 million, respectively. 1.66 million people saw Indiana Fever at the Chicago Sky. Indiana Fever's average versus the Washington Mystics is 1.023. She improves the league as a whole, not just her team. The crazy part comes next. This season, Caitlin has yet to make her. In debut, it is anticipated to easily reach 1.5 million on its launch. It's not hype either. The data indicates that, what do we anticipate from Caitlin Clark's ION debut this year? A game with 1.5 million views at the time of its premiere. You're looking at more than simply a star when a player can set viewing records without really playing. You're observing a once-in-a-generation occurrence. There had never been anything like the way she entered the WNBA with all the anticipation. All of the media attention is being brought about by Caitlin Clark. All of the young men are drawn to the WNBA by Caitlin Clark. Those that wish to tune in and witness all of these games every fan want to be like Caitlin. Let's discuss the facts. The Indiana Fever are garnering more attention than any other WNBA team. And it all has a single name: Clark Caitlin. Even when she doesn't wear a uniform, the airwaves are dominated by Indiana. Fans continued to watch the Fever's game against the Wings, which Caitlin missed. However, attendance fell by around 500,000 when Mercury versus Liberty, the following game, was broadcast. The Liberty versus Mercury averaged 610,000 following the Indiana Fever game. Approximately 500,000 viewers switched it off. 500,000 people just didn't pay attention. Why? Because the intrigue vanished as soon as the Fever game did. With all due respect to the other teams, there is no denying the difference. As soon as Caitlin, typically, the games played by the Fever are at the top of the charts. She defeated Chicago in front of more than 1.6 million viewers. Over 1.3 million people attended Phoenix. In Minnesota, 1.2 million people watched. The state of Indiana last year, Fever at the Chicago Sky received 1.6 million views. That gave you 1.34 along with the Indiana Fever versus Phoenix Mercury matchup. At 1.26, the Minnesota Lynx will play the Indiana Fever. Mercury in Phoenix, the Indiana Fever and the Atlanta Dream have a meeting at 1.22. The Indiana Fever versus the Washington Mystics follows. On average, they are 1.023. These aren't only figures, they demonstrate how Caitlin is becoming Indiana the league's most watched team. Regardless of the opponent, she is turning every Fever game into a major event. Even elite athletes like A'ja Wilson are unable to command the same level of national attention. A'ja Wilson's game received millions of views. Therefore, it seems that in addition to Caitlin Clark, she also needs Angel Reese in order to achieve fairly respectable ratings. The $1 million barrier was just barely reached by one of A'ja's games last year. And Angel Reese, another ratings magnet, helped make that happen. It's an obvious message. Though the spike in Fever is not arbitrary, stems from Caitlin Clark's magnetism, presence, and energy. Right now, Indiana is the place to go if you want attention, buzz, and national dialogue. All the attention is due to you. She is the center of attention. Caitlin Clark is more than just a famous person. The figures show that she is a cultural shift, a ratings phenomenon, and perhaps the most significant player in women's basketball at the moment. Let's dissect it. Around 541,000 people watch the WNBA's national broadcasts on ION on average. Viewers for this season. The average number of people watching WNBA games on ION this season is at 541,000. Not too awful, but you know what? And that's before Caitlin Clark has participated in any ION games. She has been recovering from her injury. Even now, every segment, highlight, and ratings debate revolves around her name. Now see what occurs when she is not scheduled. Even without her, Indiana's most recent clash drew an astounding 1.14 million viewers on average. The next game decreased to 610,000 viewers between the Mercury and Liberty. That represents a decrease of over 500,000 individuals. Consider that. Almost half of the nation's attention vanishes the moment Caitlin's team exits the screen. Even the Las Vegas Aces, the current champs, cannot duplicate her impact. Just 230,000 people watched their most recent NBA TV game versus the Mercury. NBA TV features Aces vs. On a Sunday evening, they provided us with 230,000 viewers. More than a drop. It's a free fall. Even top players like A'ja Wilson can't attract as much national attention as Caitlin does without Clark on the billboard. Additionally, keep in mind that her most watched games from the previous season did not include super teams. They faced teams from the center of the pack, including Minnesota, Phoenix, and Chicago. Nevertheless, they generated more than 1 million just because Clark was wearing a uniform. The larger picture is shown here. Caitlin is doing more than simply spreading the Indiana fervor. The visibility of the entire league is being carried by her. Sponsors are arriving. The WNBA is receiving more national media coverage than ever before. Attendance in arenas is at all-time highs. Sales of merchandise are booming. Why? Because it all revolves on Caitlin Clark. She is doing more than just supporting her own franchise. Every team she encounters is being elevated by her. When adversaries exchange they gain from being in court with Caitlin as well. Everyone benefits, from ticket sales to sponsorships. We have never witnessed such in the women's game at this level. The Caitlin Clark effect is more than just a catchphrase. There is a discernible, quantifiable change in the way the WNBA functions, expands, and is perceived. Throughout the nation, it's not hype. We are seeing the unfolding of history. I don't believe anyone has ever had to bear greater weight than she does, both consciously and unintentionally, for the purpose of the sport. Although most players must be on the floor in order to have an effect, Caitlin Clark's impact goes well beyond his playing time. She is a standard, not merely a stat sheet. Additionally, just her presence has changed the culture of the Indiana Fever. Let's face it, last year Indiana wasn't even mentioned in the playoffs as of right now. They are the WNBA's most talked about, watched, and anticipated squad. Not a coincidence. That is the influence of Caitlin Clark as a cultural anchor and locker room leader. Despite being disabled, she is right there at the court, giving her all and encouraging her teammates, reading the game and speaking with the coaches. She has a high IQ. Her enthusiasm is infectious. Additionally, she improves everyone while she is in uniform. From newcomers to veterans, finally, athletes like Aaliyah Boston are gaining national recognition. Smith, Nalisa. When Nalisa Smith returns to Indiana tonight, will she be receiving a package of some kind? The focus is on Kelsey Mitchell's performances. Kayla Timpson and other rotating players are now included in the discussion. And you know what? When Timpson plays more than 10 minutes, the Fever are unbeaten. Will Aaron McDonald's physical prowess have an effect? On the floor, Kayla Timpson has been getting some good minutes. The Indiana Fever are unbeaten when Kayla Timpson plays 10 minutes or more. That takes time to develop this kind of chemistry. Leadership is the foundation of it, the sort Caitlin brings with her every day. Not to be overlooked is the plan. When Caitlin is on the court, defenses fall apart. Her simple presence frees shooters, clears pathways, and compels opponents to change their tactics. Whether she was defending Sophie Cunningham or the shooters, her defense largely held up. Her gravity alters the strategy for every team she plays against, even when the shots don't fall. Thus, while the Fever are winning games, they are also building a persona. Indiana Fever versus Las Vegas Aces, and we collapsed again in the final 14 minutes. A fighting, entertaining, and believing team. And at its core is a rookie who, both on and off the court, is performing like a seasoned franchise player. She is the league's best player by far. Every fan wants to be like Caitlin. This league has never had a bigger appeal than she does, in ways never seen before. She has elevated this league to a national level. Whether she's sitting out to recuperate or on the court dropping dimes, Caitlin Clark is revising the game's rules. Not only is she drawing millions of viewers to the WNBA, she is reinventing the roles of cultural icon, leader, and rookie. Took the Indiana Fever some time to establish themselves as America's team. It took place as a result of one A player made a movement out of a franchise. Arenas are full, ratings are rising, and she is mentioned in every headline, camera, and statistic. Here's the reality then. In addition to having a bright future, the WNBA is wearing number 22. If you think Caitlin Clark is already the league's face, leave a 100% rating in the comments section immediately. Don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, and ring, as this trip is simply beginning.